Hey viewers, welcome to the channel. Today I want to take a step back from actual VBA code and talk about how I go about planning my macros and how I then present them to the user so they can run them. Now in most cases, what I don't want is one macro that runs everything. I prefer to break them down into individual functional units of work, each with a specific purpose. So the advantages of this from a developer's point of view is it makes your code easier to understand, to manage and to troubleshoot. From a user's perspective, it gives them the option to verify the output of each step rather than wait till the very end and find something has gone wrong and then try and isolate where that could have happened. It also gives the possibility of breaking up the steps into different responsibilities. So you might have a different team member or a different team itself who's responsible for running a particular step. Well, if you think about it, macros essentially automate steps that a user would otherwise run manually. So if you can capture these things, then it can help you map out what your macro needs to do. And that's where I usually start. I'll sit with a user and try and identify what steps they would take to produce these reports. And I found in my experience, many occasions they already have a workbook which does what they want or part of what they want, and they just need it automated and perhaps fleshed out a little more. So as an example, let's assume the company I work for manufactures various products that get sold by a number of retailers throughout the country, and the user would like monthly sales reports generated. So one of the first things they might do is copy their customer data. In their case, it would be retailers, and copy them from a source sheet into their workbook. The next thing they might do is then get the sales data, which might come from an external system, for example, and copy that data into the workbook as well. Then from there, they may do some filtering, sorting, etc. And then they'll produce a detailed report, and from that, perhaps a summary. We can use those as steps to map out our macros. So I've already listed some of these down here. So I've got import customer data, import sales data, generate detailed report, and generate summary. And each one of these is going to be a macro. So I have a button that will trigger the macros. And now I'm not going to show you any coding here, but this is just a structure that I'm building. In addition to these, I like to add other steps that the user might take that you can't automate or you're not planning on automating. So I've added some of these already, and I'll just unhide them so you can see them. So for example, one of the first things I like to do is ensure the user backs up the tool before they update it. Now, they may already have automatic backup processes in place, so you wouldn't need this step. You might want to automate it via VBA, but at the very least, and this is what I tend to do if I don't have time to automate it, I will add a step here just as a reminder that they need to do this, or they should do it anyway. Right, so that's a description, and the action is just a manual copy of the tool. Now another thing would be perhaps updating some static data. There might be some rates, or if I want to see dollar values in the reports, there might be some pricing, or perhaps the sales data has a few products where their names don't quite match the naming that the user would like to see in the reports, and so you can add some mapping there. And again, this is just a reminder for them to go and do it. Now in this case, I'm not going to automate the updating. I just create some VBA that will select the worksheet for them. Now that seems a bit lazy. They could just click on the worksheet themselves, but I've seen some workbooks which have lots and lots of worksheets, and so this is a nice feature to add for the user. So when they click on it, it just takes you to the worksheet. And we will do the same when we generate a report. The user is most likely going to review it. So I would add a step to review the report, and again it'll just be a go-to which takes you to that sheet. Likewise with a summary, we would review the summary after it's generated, click on the go-to, and it takes them to that worksheet. And finally, one of the other things I tend to do is add any input parameters. So for example, let's say the sales data has sales information for the last 3 months or 6 months, but the user only needs a particular month. Well, we could add some parameters to filter it out, and I've already done that here. So we would have a drop down for the month and for the year as well. So your macro, when you import the sales data, it could use the month and year to filter out anything that is from previous months. You can also use this to perhaps store in the reports as well, so you can see what period they were generated for and which sales data it used at the time. So now we have a good map of what we need to build. So it's a good starting point here. And I would start off by doing the simple ones, which is the go-to ones. Just create the macros, create blank worksheets, and just test that it goes to the worksheet. And then you can start building out each one of these one at a time. Now there may be more that you might want to add to the list or even remove, but you can flesh that out as you move along through the project. The good thing with this is it just gives the user all the different steps in one central worksheet. You just go down the list and it should be a fairly straightforward process for them. Now you may want to format this to your liking. I tend to put these inside a table, but you can just do it as regular Excel ranges. And so if I select this, click on insert and then table and OK, I take off the filter and banded rows. And so now I have a table, and I like to give the table a specific name. So if you click on table design at the very top, in the top left here, you can change the default name. Now the other thing I like to do is add a step number. So insert columns to the left here, and we'll just call it step number. Again, this is optional. Pick that out. And I'll use this formula here, row. So that's the current row, which is row 4, minus row of the header. So the table's header row. And that will always give me the table row number as opposed to the Excel number. And that's just a nice feature to add. One other thing I like to add is the last run. And this is essentially going to record the date and time that the macro was run. So I wouldn't add it to this or to the go-to. It'll just be on the ones where we run macro. And this is quite a good indicator to the user of where they were up to. So for example, the user might run a few of the steps and they may need to wait, let's say, for the sales data to be available before they run this step. So when they come back to it, perhaps in a day or two, it's good to have a date in here to know that, yes, I've already imported this. The other useful thing with the last run is if someone else needs to run the tool, or perhaps a different team altogether, they can look at their step, and if they see that there's a missing date in a previous step, they could always get in touch with the person responsible for it. The date can also be used as validation. So for example, if the user imports sales data for November and then someone else runs the generate report, but they accidentally change it to December and try and generate it, the macro could check what month the sales data was imported for, and if it doesn't match what was selected, it could pop up a message warning them that it's not in sync, and they either have to change the period back or perhaps import the correct sales data. So in this video, I didn't really talk about any VBA code. That's going to be in part 2 of this. I'll show you the code for the go-to. It's pretty straightforward. You could probably do that yourself. And also how I update this last run. For these imports, I won't actually do an import or generate a report. It's more of just a skeleton or template subroutine that I would create. Well, thank you for watching. If you found this useful, please hit the like button. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel so you don't miss out on future videos. If you have any questions, please post them in the comments below. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.